To Venom or to Venompool? That is the question. All right, what is going on, my dudes? So we're back here today with these two sticky symbiote boys, Venom and Venompool. Now, there seems to be a lot of talk amongst the MCOC community ever since Venompool's buff. Which one is better? Which one of these giant beasts with these, oh god, enormous, long, shiny tongues is better in MCOC currently? About to be 2022, but it's still 2021, in 2021. Now, both of these guys are very solid champions. I've, of course, already recorded a lot of gameplay for both of them, and to be entirely honest, I was quite surprised with how similar they were, with how similar their performance was. Now, there are some things about these champions that is just night and day, clearly better than the other. They do many things similarly, but some of them, one of them over the other, does some things just better. Now, I'm going to, of course, show you all of this footage, and we're going to jump into all of it together. But first things first, let's talk about some of the things that these champions are good for. They are cosmic champions with kind of similar abilities. They both have bleeds. Well, Venompool has degen, all right, against robots that Venom doesn't have, and they apply it in a specific way. Venompool on specials, Venom on basic hits, or special attacks, okay? They both have buffs. They're cosmic champions with buffs, right? There's a difference, though, there. Venom's buffs are so much more based on RNG over Venompool's. With Venompool, you have your 5 blender buffs, and you will get to all of them eventually. With Venom, when you get to your 7 buffs, that's it. You're done. You have your buffs. You have your buff recipe. Now, you can reroll them with the special too. However, there's so much more RNG involved with Venom than Venompool. Okay? Another thing they both do is that they're both immune to Power Burn and Power Drain from tech champions. However, Venompool takes it one step further. He's also immune to Shock, and when any of those abilities would happen, he gains 50 points on his meter, which is really, really good for his abilities, okay? Another thing is they're both pretty tanky, okay? I've noticed that they feel very tanky in a fight, which is really good. They have a very, very good and decent and underrated nullify on the special one, as well as the potential to heal from it. Venompool, especially if there's an armor up buff, Venom just heals off of eating buffs on his special one. So as you can see, they both do very similar things. So we're gonna jump into some gameplay today and start comparing these two. Okay. So first things first, we're going to jump into a bit of Winter Soldier gameplay here, just to go over these champions and how essentially you want to use them. So I kind of went over how they work, right? There are these cosmic champions who have buffs, who can bleed or degen if you're Venompool against robots, right? And you have these buffs. Okay, now as you can see, starting out the fight, it's looking like Venom has the clear advantage when it comes to just damage. Now, keep in mind, damage is not the most important thing. There's utility and playability and other stuff just like that. But just for Winter Soldier, essentially what we like to do is we like to test out the damage, right? That's what we do here against Winter Soldier. That's the only reason Winter Soldier exists. There are no nodes, there are nothing. It's just pretty much a punching bag with 550,000 health, okay? So as you can see, Venom is doing some decent damage here against Winter Soldier. He's also getting shot in the face, by the way. But yeah, Winter Soldier is down below 50% health. Now, here's the thing with Venom, okay? I talked about RNG. As you can see, he now has 7 buffs. He has 3 precision, 2 cruelty, a perfect block or physical resistance, and a fury. That's a pretty decent recipe for Venom, so we got kind of lucky with that damage, okay? So there's the potential for Venom to roll 3 armor ups and 3 physical resistances and then 1 cruelty. Then you're not going to be seeing good damage with Venom whatsoever. At that point, you know, when a new buff procs with Venom, you can use a heavy attack to re-roll it, but you only have so much time on that Clintar buff before the next one comes and you have to re-roll it again. Check out Venompool, by the way. Remember when Venom was so far ahead of Venompool? Look at the health pools now. The places where Venompool shines is when he has a little bit of opportunity to ramp up. Venom just ended up edging out Venompool, but that was pretty much neck and neck, man, at the end of the day. It looks like 85 hits for Venompool, 86 hits for Venom. That could not possibly have been more close. I don't know if they both started at the exact same time, but it really looks like that was about the same amount of time, the same amount of hits for both of these champions. Now, Venompool takes a little bit of time to ramp up. Venom kind of comes in swinging, man. Even without his precision and cruelty and fury, he hits okay. Venompool, not so much. But here's a thing that I find with Venompool. Like I said, Venom has a bit of RNG where if you get amazing buff RNG, you are going to be doing 10k crits, lots of bleeds, bleeding all the time because you crit from the precisions. That's how you get a bleed on the opponent, right? You're going to be having a really fun time with Venom. But there's really no RNG involved with Venompool. You can reroll your buffs, yes, with the heavy attack, but at the end of the day, when you're ramped up, you're going to have all of your blender buffs. Every single one you're going to have on Venompool, okay? Now, the way that you start having that really strong bleed on him is that you go for the special 3 after the heavy attack, and you get that that yellow buff on, and there's going to be a really strong bleed, and then you're going to make your cooking meter spicy, and you're going to hit the opponent. When it passes 100, you're going to pause the bleed, and you're going to do this and all this stuff. So that's like how you play Venompool. You can look up a Venompool guide if you want to go over the details of how to play Venompool. Here we're going to be comparing the two champions. Is essentially what we're going to be doing here, okay? Alright, so up next, what I want to compare actually is just strict bleed damage. So we're here in 7.3. There's some of this paradox BS. It's going to be, affecting some of the damage that we see, in this comparison, unfortunately. Basically, whenever the attacker or defender activates special attack, the attacker gains 1 paradox, plus 30% debuff potency for each paradox. I'm going to try and keep the paradox about the same between the two, but there's only so much I can do. Easiest place I can get to do you bleed, where we're only seeing damage from bleeds to really compare the bleed damage, okay? Also, they have like increased power rate until we get 3 paradox, so just ignore the beginning of these fights, to be entirely honest. Like, let's just let them get a little bit ramped up first, right? So yeah, also they're more aggressive. When you intercept, you remove a paradox, stuff like that. So 7.3, it's fun, I like it, but it's harder to just like, just focus on the damage and stuff. But anyway, keep in mind, like I said, Venom puts bleeds on, basic hits and special attacks pretty much whenever he crits, essentially, right? So there's also, the paradox here. So first things first, we're going to try to get the special attacks going. That way we can get rid of the paradox for both these champions. Venompool does not have bleed damage on his basic hits whenever he crits like Venom does, okay? He has them on his special attacks. Now, once Venompool is all the way ramped up and he has all of his buffs, and he has his yellow buff as well, I forget what it's called, his bleed is insane. So as you can see right now, Venom has a very strong start here. Look at this, Quake is melting down below 50% health, okay? Venompool is about to have his first bleed on the opponent here, okay? But let's see how strong it does. Let's see what it's doing. It is ticking for 8k per second. This bleed is ticking for 8k per second on Venompool, okay? So, no doubt about it, for stuff like Do You Bleed, it's looking like Venom has the edge because he's done. But Venompool put 1 bleed on the opponent, and so much of Venompool's damage comes from this bleed. Look at this. We have had 1 bleed and it's ticking Quake all the way down. So there is not a shadow of a doubt when we say things like Venompool is a bit of a ramp up champion. Once he's ramped up, he does really well. So that 1 bleed took off about 75% of Quake's HP. I think we could skip this special 3 animation. We just saw it, right? So, oh my god, let's skip it even more. Okay. Check it out now, fully ramped up. This bleed is doing about 20k per second with all the buffs and the furies. So, if this was like a Do You Bleed boss in like Summer of Pain or Gauntlet that had like 1.5 million health, yeah, Venom would be good, but I think Venompool would be better in that scenario. For a general Do You Bleed path, yeah, you're probably going to want to go with Venom just because you have those bleeds fresh out of the gate. You don't have to ramp up. But the point is, they both have really decent bleed damage. Venompool just kind of has to ramp up a little bit first. We saw the same thing in Winter Soldier. Once he started ramping up, he started keeping up with Venom. If this was probably like a million plus health pool, I feel like they probably would have finished about the same time. The higher the health pool gets, the more Venompool is going to have that edge in like this kind of comparison here. That's what I think, at least. Of course, there's no way to test that. There's no way to test out, what it would happen if we took Venom up against a 1,500,000 health pool or Venompool, right? There's no way to really accurately gauge who would be better there, but I do think that Venompool, after that 45, 60-second ramp up, would be rolling ever since then. But, Venom can get through the fight in about the time Venompool takes to ramp up, right? So I feel like for a general do you bleed node in like future Act 7 content, Act 8 content coming up, right? I feel like Venom has the edge there, actually. Alright, so up next we're going to be testing another piece of utility, okay? So we're here in 6.3.1 against this Miles Morales. There's Mesmerize, and there's Spry, and Pill for Regeneration, right? So obviously what we know about Venom is that Spider champions can't evade him, right? Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man, Stark Spidey, Stealth Spidey, all the spiders, right? Spider-Ham, they can't evade him, and why is that? You might not know this, it's because of the Clintar buff. Now, if that Clintar buff goes away for any reason, then they can evade him. Keep that in mind. Now, Venompool has a Clintar buff. It's one of his buffs. If your Venompool is awakened, okay, you can influence with a pre-fight the ability to start with the Clintar buff. Can't guarantee it, but you can influence it, okay? So that makes him a little bit better for this. However, one of his buffs grants 920 attack rating if the opponent is a Spider-Verse champion. Attacks ignore passive evade effects. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go into both of these fights here and see how we do against the Mesmerize on Miles Morales, okay? That's going to be the goal here. So keep in mind, this is where that RNG for Venompool does come into play. Like I said, there's more RNG for Venom, okay, all throughout, but specifically against Spider-Verse champions. As you can see, I didn't start with my Clintar. One heavy attack, I re-rolled it, and I got it. That was a pretty lucky start. But as you can see now, right away, now we're kind of rolling. But look at how Venom is doing against this Miles, man. So one thing I'm noticing about Venom is that his attack is increasing at rank 3. It's scaling much better than I ever thought it would. And I think a big reason as to why is because, champions who have like fury buffs and cruelty buffs, those buffs, they get an increase in potency along with the base stats when the champion gets moved up to rank 3. So Venom at rank 3 is looking to scale very nicely when it comes to attack damage. Getting through a 6.3 health pool and 32 hits is very good. So now, like I said, Venompool likes to ramp up. So one thing I'm noticing right away while doing this comparison is that Venompool does not love to be a general lane clearer in most scenarios. We're gonna get to that. Don't worry. Venompool starts to look a little bit more impressive as we go along. But just for like a general lane, I feel like Venom has the edge for like a general lane. When you don't have stuff to take advantage of for Venompool and whatnot. But here, 60 hits, ending at 90% health is not bad at all. So they both did very well here, but Venom just happened to do really well here, essentially. All right, so up next, we're going to be talking about this kind of thing, right? So as we can see here in Venom's abilities, Tech Champions, Power Burn, and Power Drain immunity. So we have Warlock up there, right? How does Venompool do against that? Well, he does a little bit better. Gain immunity to Power Drain, Power Burn, and shock effects, as well as armor break debuffs. If an effect is prevented this way, gain 50 cooking meter, cooldown 2 seconds. So, that seems pretty strong for old Venompool here, doesn't it? Okay, so we're going to go up against Warlock, and keep in mind that every time a Power Burn, a Power Drain, an armor break, or a shock fails to apply, our cooking meter is going to go up by 50. That's going to help his ramp up significantly. Now, another thing we're going to be looking at here in this fight, double 2-in-1, we're going to see how Venompool and Venom do against the Cosmic class, okay? So, we're going to go ahead and go for the special 1 here. Now, normally that would place a bleed, but against robots, we have a degen, okay? Now, the special 3 on Warlock is going to power burn us. Let's see what happens. Essentially, nothing happens. Nothing happens at all, and our cooking meter went up, and now we're already fully ramped up. We are all the way ramped up here, okay, against Warlock. Another thing is, look at all the buffs we have. You counter Warlock by having unique buffs, essentially, right? So Venompool is doing a very, very good job countering this Warlock for many different ways. We can't be power burned. We can't be power drained. We're omnomming his armor up buff. We're regenerating from it. Look at all the buffs that we're getting. We're completely ramped up, right? So what we're seeing here, I should have probably eaten this to get the shock on me, but hey, who knows, man? It's fine, right? Look at this. Completely just draining this Warlock. Completely draining him. The degens are going to finish him off right here. Not too bad. So what we're seeing here is that on certain paths, right, where Venompool would be power burned or power drained or armor broken against tech champions, or if there are certain buffs that he can eat, he's going to ramp up so much faster, and it's going to be a lot more fun to use. Now let's use Venom, okay? Now, I'm sure you know Venom is going to do fine. He's not going to get power burn. He's not going to get power drained. He's not going to get any benefits aside from just kind of ignoring that ability, though, okay? But one thing I want to show you here is the difference between Venom and Venompool specifically against robots, okay? So keep in mind that a lot of Venom's damage comes from passive damage over time. Or not passive damage over time, it's active bleed debuffs, damage over time. But against robots, who Cosmic Champions typically have the class advantage over, well, he doesn't really bleed, right? Now, Warlock is being really great here. He's not throwing the special 3, so Venom so far is doing well on this fight. However, you know, Warlock was kind of helping us there a bit. So now after this, let's check out the power bar. Of course, you're going to see we didn't get power drained. We didn't get power burned. We're actually immune to it. We don't get many benefits from that, okay? So now at this point, we're about even, about 50%. You know, we're doing all right. We're ignoring Warlock's abilities. We don't have power control here. In this fight, by the way, I should have mentioned that there's special bias, so he's going to go for the special 3 first, okay? But as you can see, our damage isn't looking as impressive as it's looked so far, right? That's definitely something to notice here, without a doubt. I think it's very important to call that out. So here comes, of course, another special 3 from Warlock, so no doubt about it, Venompool absolutely had the advantage here. Why? Because he got to take advantage of that cooking meter from all the things that Warlock was going to be throwing on him. And that's really big because there's a lot of tech champions who do those things. And of course, I missed a parry, which is great, but Venom essentially could have won that fight. So they both could get through this fight against Warlock, but who did it better? Undoubtedly, Venompool got through this fight better. I think this is the first one that he really won. Winter Soldier was about neck and neck. The bleed damage out of the gate, it looked like Venom started stronger. Venompool started to catch up. If the fight was longer, I think he would have won. In this fight, no doubt about it, Venompool had the edge over Warlock. So the next thing we're going to look at is just how these champions counter buffs, okay? So we're going to do an actual fight where we can bleed them and it's not Groot, right? Because who cares about Groot? But what we're going to do here is we're going to use Groot as a demonstration as to how it works, okay? So, for example, Venom is going to use a special 1 to omnom some buffs, and what he's going to do is regen. Venompool is going to omnom buffs, and what he's going to do is going to fill his cooking meter very, very high, and now he's all the way ramped up. All the way ramped up. So check it out, even against Groot, okay, who's immune to bleed here, we're doing some decent damage against with Venompool here because look at our basic hits, man. Keep in mind, we also have that Hunter Spider buff that we get like from Spider-Gwen, which is really great, doing some nice passive damage. But as you can see, we have 11 Furies up because we are omnomming a lot of buffs, 19k medium. Keep in mind, there's also, I think, a combo party here, so we're getting some more cruelty to help out with the damage. But as you can see, man, when there are ways to ramp up Venompool, he ramps up really fast and really well, as opposed to Venom, who's having a bit of a hard time here against Groot, right, because he's immune to bleed. But keep in mind, we're throwing a lot of special 1s, and the regen after recoil is quite nice, okay? So both of these guys have a really good way to deal with buffs, and they benefit quite nicely from it. However, the ramp up on Venompool when nullifying buffs is very, very nice. Now we're going to go to a match with buffs where we can actually compare some damage, where it's more fair, right? Because it's not very fair to say, oh, bleed immune champ, Venompool is better. So again, we're here on the same exact lane. This is the second fight. Combo party, right? You get plus 500 crit damage rating every 10 hits on your attack. So they're both benefiting from this. It's nothing too crazy, okay? we're going to go in and we're going to do essentially the same thing we did against Groot. We're going to take advantage of the buffs, and we're going to see how we ramp up, and we're going to see if Venompool keeps up with that fast damage that Venom jumps into the fight with when he could ramp up like crazy. Okay, so watch Venompool specifically right here. His Omnom meter goes all the way up, or his food meter when he Omnoms, right? We already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of our buffs here. So now at this point, when we Omnom again, we're gonna, bait out a special 1 from Venom first. This AI is actually atrocious against this Venom up here. Okay? Watch this now. Boom, boom, boom. We start getting some Fury buffs, which is nice. Now, keep in mind, a lot of your damage on Venompool is going to come from the Special 3. So at this point, I would recommend you probably go for a Special 3 for that nice big bleed. But as you can see, there is some really decent damage going. But look at that. Venompool actually edged him out again. So it's looking like a rank 3 Venom has some really nice damage with all those buffs. Let's go back and take a look at Venom's buffs, what he happened to get. 5 cruelties in this fight and 3 precisions. So some of those cruelties were definitely from Combo Party, no doubt about it. But the precisions are some of the best buffs that you can get, okay, with Venom. And the reason being is because then you crit more, and then when you crit more, there's going to be more bleeds, okay? So the ending of these fights here, it looks like Venompool ended at 55 hits, Venom at 44 hits. Venom had some really good RNG in that fight. Both of these were very respectable kills. Around the same time, Venompool was about 20 seconds longer because he still has that initial period where he starts unramped up, and Venom kind of, like I said, comes in swinging. But still, both these champions did really well in this fight. Okay, so let's move on to something else now. Alright, so now we're going to look at Buffed Up, okay? So Buffed Up, and there's also a bunch of other annoying nodes here. Again, this is like X7.3. There's like a concussion that goes on you every few seconds. I have to do heavy attacks to get rid of it, but you can't parry because of the concussion. So there's some less than stellar gameplay in these two fights, I'll tell you that. But point is, Buffed Up. You need 3 buffs on, your attacker in order to do any damage. Now, right away, Venom again comes out swinging. I used to use Venom for Buffed Up and AQ all the time because he just, when he's awakened, starts with 3 buffs. If not, it takes a few seconds. But Venompool, as you can see, we don't have 3 buffs yet. We still do not have 3 buffs, okay? So we're doing 0 damage. However, look at the defender. It's a robot. So I think this is another opportunity to look at how Venompool does against robots of the opposite class, okay? So we're just strictly going off of basic damage here with Venom. With class advantage and some crits, we're doing some pretty decent damage, about 7k medium attacks, about 5k light attacks, right, when we crit. The heavy attack was definitely nice, but watch this. We just special 3'd with Venompool. Check it out. We have a nice, strong, potent 7k per second degen ticking down Ultron. How about that evade after that heavy attack, Ultron? Thank you for that. Now, every time the cooking meter gets to 100, we're going to be pausing that degen. So this degen is ticking really nicely. So again, we're seeing how Venom had a very, very strong start here, and Venompool is just catching up. It was a huge special 2 by Venompool. Now there's 2 degens going, and now Venompool is very much so in the lead. So against robots, I don't think it's even a question that Venompool is by far better, right? Against Buffed Up in general, it's looking like, for me, I like Venom better for Buffed Up in general, just because you start stronger, right? Of course, Ultron's not the best matchup for Venom, even when you have class advantage. It's decent, but you don't have your bleeds. As you can see, though, they're both handling this fight just fine. It's just going to be longer when you're using Venom against bleed-immune champions. But that being said, what a beautiful ending. Just a beautiful ending to a wonderfully not sloppy fight, right? Just a great showcase for both these champions, I think. So yeah, we have one more thing to showcase here. The last thing we're going to be looking at is some really long form content here. So the top video is actually just a video from when there's me in the past, made a Venompool video when he first came out, right? There's some, synergies here, nothing too crazy, nothing that's going to be influencing the overall damage and the point of the long form ramp up here, okay? But what we're going to be doing here, this is a Sig 200 Venompool, by the way, but again, his Sig ability doesn't even matter if you don't choose a pre-fight ability to use, which you should use if you're using him when yours is awakened. But the point is, Venompool doesn't need to be awakened at all. All right. So what we're gonna do here is we're going to go into Star-Lord here and just see how we do. Because like we've been saying, I feel like we've been saying this the entire time. What have we been saying? Venom starts really strong. And Venompool, well, he needs a little bit of time to ramp up. But once he's ramped up, holy freaking moly, this guy does some insane damage and starts looking really, really good. So right away you'll notice, of course, Venom starts kind of strong. We have some, okay RNG. We have 2 precisions and a fury. We also have a physical resistance. Now we got a second physical resistance. We're going to want to get rid of that. All right, 2 furies, 2 precision, not bad. Venompool starting really strong. There is a synergy that's giving him a regen buff, which is definitely nice to have, especially when you're running the Suicide Masteries, okay? But like I said, I just want to get to that final ramp up point. I already did the fight, so it's already there for us to see, okay? So Venom is actually doing a little bit better than I anticipated him to do in this fight. He's actually still ahead of Venompool. Star-Lord's down to about 92%, 3.3 million health. Definitely not bad. But right now we're in the process of ramping Venompool up, okay? And we've been doing that this entire video, right? We're going up against health pools that are 250,000 health up to 550,000 health, being like, oh, Venompool's ramped up now, and now he starts being freaking amazing. So we have this 3.3 million health pool now against Star-Lord. So now we're going to see Venompool finally in the content that he's meant to do, okay? This is just his playground. This long form content is where Venompool really shines, in my opinion. Yeah, if you're going up against, the tech champions who could power burn you and power drain you, if there are champions with lots of buffs on the lane, he's going to be really good for that lane. However, in general, man, on a normal questing lane, if those factors aren't there, Venompool is just not going to be super fun to use going into every fight not ramped up. When Venom doesn't need like that specific ramp up, if that makes sense. There's nothing specific about it. It's just that it takes a bit, right? 100 hits in, Venompool is now starting to edge out Venom just by a bit. So at this point, Venompool, we're all ramped up. We have our buffs. We have an extra regen buff, right, which is going to help a little tiny bit. I forget what synergy that's even from, but now I want to get to the special 3 and start activating a very solid bleed. So now we're ramped up, 108 hits in. That's a decently sized ramp up. It took about, about 2 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer to ramp him up, okay? Let's check it out. This bleed is ticking for 11k per second. 11k, and look at the bleeds. Look at how long it is, and it's going to pause every time we pass 100 on the cooking meter. This is what makes Venompool so good for this type of stuff. Check it out, man. This is why there's so many videos of like Venompool destroying Penny Parker war bosses, because you ramp him up, you're immune to the power burn, you're immune to the power drain. Every time that happens, you're going to gain cooking meter charges, and then you get to a special 3 and you're doing 10k per second on bleed, which is a lot of damage against a 450,000 health Alliance war boss, right? So it's just crazy what Venompool can do in those longer form contents. I mean, like, the Furies really start adding up. The Malice buff starts really interacting with the Furies nicely as the fight goes on. But I think what's very impressive to me is watching, how Venompool is kind of keeping up with, how Venom is kind of keeping up with Venompool here. That's actually it's interesting to me how Venom at rank 3 is doing a lot better than I thought he would. When I started making this video and I started recording the content, I was thinking to myself, Venom is doing very well here. I was actually a little surprised with how good his damage was keeping up. I haven't watched them side by side yet up until this comparison video. This is my first time watching the side by side is with all of you right here. I haven't watched this footage side by side yet. So this is all the first time I'm seeing it too. But look at this, by the way. The bleed is now up to 14k per second on Star-Lord. Well, now it's down a bit. I don't know, maybe there's some sort of external factor there. But as you can see, as the fight goes on in this long form content and we get more Furies, There's just no contest. It's Venompool. It's Venompool all day. Venom is doing decent. 50% off Star-Lord in 4.5 minutes. 5 minutes is not the best, but it's also not the worst for a champion who's not meant to do this content. Now, we re-rolled buffs a couple times with Venom. Right now, we have 1 Precision, 1 Fury, and 5 Cruelties, right? So the critical damage rating is going to be kind of high, but I mean, look at this. Star-Lord is on 50% health. Venompool's done. So, for me, there's just no contest when it comes to long-form content. It's Venompool over Venom all day, every day. Now, here's the thing, man. I made a video similar to this, okay, a couple months ago between Immortal Abomination and OG Abomination with the Red Guardian synergy. And the two of them were like kind of neck and neck the entire time. And OG A-Bomb was actually faster than I-Bomb for most of it. Then we got to long form content with bigger health pools and it was no competition. I-Bomb smoked him. So there are some champions who just like really have a slow start. And then once they get ramped up, well, they're really good, like Venompool. So at this point, you kind of have to decide, what do you value? Do you need a champion who's going to ramp up very highly and then absolutely smash content? Do you value a champion who is a strong starter like Venom? Or are you more of that like slow and steady build up to a really powerhouse type champion like Venompool? Venompool, for example, is going to be very useful for Alliance Quest Map 8. He's very good against Nimrod. He can be decent for the Penny Parker boss. Venompool has a lot of uses in Alliance War, but so does Venom. Venom does too. Any Spider champion is going to be good. We send Venom over Venompool to Penny Parker on mini bosses, personally. That's just, we have a rank 3 Venom and he does really well. So both these champions are really good, and when we look throughout the game, okay, they have very similar attributes that make them really good for a lot of things. In variants, for example, you know, they're both Cosmic champions, can do Venom, can do the Cosmic chapter in Variant 1. They're both extra large champions, can do Variant 3. This is tag based. I think this one is what, the symbiote one, so they can both do the symbiote variant, they can both do the villain variant. And now the latest one, Variant 8, Venompool has a big advantage over Venom because he has, you know, he benefits from the tags and everything. So when it comes to, like, you know, variant champions for this type of content, they're both very good for that. When it comes to story content, they're both good for that. Most of this content is from story quests, right? And they both did well. Venom edged out Venompool a bit on some content. Venompool edged out Venom a bit on some content, but they both got through it quite well, and they both benefited in different scenarios, which I think is very interesting, you know? But then when it comes to Labyrinth and Abyss, there is no question. Venompool has the advantage over Venom. He just does. He has the damage potential that starts after a few minutes, right? And that's where Venompool is really going to shine. So I think in the future, we're going to see a lot of content where Venompool is just absolutely freaking amazing for. However, right now, I kind of value both these champions about the same because we don't have a ton of that long-form content that Venompool is going to completely smash at the moment. Will there be more stuff like Grandmaster's Gauntlet? Yes. Will there be more stuff like Summer of Pain? Yes. Will Venompool edge out Venom in that content? Probably. Do we know for sure? No. So I'm not going to tell you rank up your Venompool for the future, because in the future, you'll have more catalysts. So if you have both these champions and you're considering ranking one of them up, my advice to you, rank up the one that you like, because right now, they kind of do similar things. I think Venompool has a higher ceiling. There's no doubt about it. He's better against robots. His immunity potential is better than Venom's. His synergy potential, you know, when you could synergize him properly, he does more stuff than Venom. But Venompool is like that reliable champion you could bring into most fights and he'll do okay. Better on buffed up. Gonna be better on diss track, by the way. I wouldn't use him on diss track, but he'll be better on diss track, right? He's got a nice armor break on the heavy attack. There's a lot of stuff you can do with him. Both great champions. They do similar things in different ways. So anyway, my dudes, that's going to be it for this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. If you did, drop your boy a big old like. Let me know what you think about Venom versus Venompool in the comment section below. Who do you think is better right now, the MCOC? In the future, do you think that will change? Let me know in the comment section below. And make sure you hit the subscribe subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos just like this coming to you in the future. You know, that Abomination video is very well received, and people said they want more stuff like that, so I'm gonna try to do more stuff like this. This type of video takes a long time to do. I'm not sure if I was able to put math up there the entire time. If there was math, awesome. I didn't get to do it yet when I was recording this, so I didn't get to talk about it. However, if it is nice visual aid, it's gonna depend on time and how long it takes to do. But I'll be seeing you around.